How far are you willing to go? The drive, the sweat, the blood, the tears, your determination through the pain and all the suffering, people overlooking you, telling you that you're not good enough. You have to believe that you're great. And with you believing that you're great, anything you want to do, you can achieve. No one can stop you. Only you can stop yourself. Keep driving. Keep uplifting yourself. Keep going. Keep going. Nothing, and no one can stop you. That goal you want, you can achieve it. How you inspire people is going to be up to you. Keep going. Never give up. Never give up. Keep going. Never.
What's going on? What's going on? It's your boy Ikon. And once again, we're here on 910 Sports TV. First and foremost, I want to thank God for this opportunity because without Him, there would be no us. To be able to have great people to come on, have great conversations and great topics. And next, I want to introduce my right hand man to you. You know what I'm saying, Mr. Virginia, North Carolina, up and down the coast. This man be traveling. I thought I travel a lot, but every time I turn around, he has some big game somewhere. So, you know what I'm saying, my brother, you know what I'm saying, Coach Lamont T. Goins. What's going on, brother?
Hey, listen, it's another Saturday night. We are ready to lock and load, and it's always a pleasure to be on with you, Iconi, and our very special guest, Coach Barnes. So let's go ahead and let's talk about how to be a rock.
Hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate that, fellas. I'm glad to be here and talk with you. I'm excited, and let's get it going.
Okay, so first, I just want to ask you, kind of like just kind of give us a kind of synopsis of your career. How you got started. Were you like a youth athlete, and then went from you being a youth to high school to college to where you at now. So just kind of give us a synopsis of how you got to this point.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So basically, just like a lot of kids, right? I grew up playing sports and. I like the way it made, I felt playing football, especially, the relationships I built and the friendships and things of that nature. And I knew as I got older out of high school, something I wanted to still be involved with. And I had the opportunity to go to Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan. And I ended up working as a student assistant and graduate assistant there and met some awesome coaches, some guys that are, ended up going on to the NFL and other places and stuff. And I just kind of knew I wanted to get involved with coaching. And from there, I continued through the high school ranks and to the point now where I'm a high school athletic director as well. So really proud of my career. It's funny, though, when you're younger, you think about, as a coach, you think about, your accolades and your successes. And then you realize over time as you mature and grow as a human being and as a professional, that it's not about us and our successes. It's about what we can do for kids and how we can be of service to others. And so that's led me to where I am now. And I'm excited to see, I just got back from dinner with a relative of mine and I ran into some former players, and just to see the successes they're having right now is just as big and just as cool as anything that I ever did in my career.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you a question and we'll jump back on the sports stuff because I seen in your bio that you was a paraprofessional. And I used to be a paraprofessional myself years ago. Yeah. And so just kind of talk a little bit about that and dealing with kids, especially nowadays in this kind of generation, when the kids dealing with a lot of mental health issues, a lot of bullying, a lot of just, external stuff that's going on in their lives. Just kind of speak on that and how you had to navigate through the world of kind of the youth today.
Yeah, no doubt. And some of my best memories working in education is when I worked as a para, right? I mean, I was able to get build a really good relationship with some of those kids, and a lot of their situations were challenging and difficult at their own right. And you're not kidding nowadays. A lot of times I think kids just want to be heard. And a lot of times kids just want to know that somebody is there and they're going to listen to them and support them regardless of what they're going through. And I found that, especially since 2020, right, and everything that's happened since then, our society and especially kids, they've lost that confidence level in themselves a lot, right? And so I'm a big believer in, right, that positive reinforcement with kids, especially, and just reminding them that, hey, man, you're better than you think you are, right? Like, you can do great things, and don't forget that. And what you're going through in the moment doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever, right? And so I talk about that, and every disappointment and every bout of adversity that they face, it's an opportunity for growth. And if you look at it like that, you know, you can get through everything. And really, not just for kids, I mean, for adults as well, with everybody, right? Whenever we're dealing with something, because we always do, there's always good that's going to come from it. And it can always be a good growth opportunity for us if we choose to look at it like that.
Okay, Coach, you can go and jump in, Coach Goins.
Well, you know what? I'm excited about just the first few minutes of a conversation so far tonight. And Coach Barnes, when he said he went out to dinner and he ran into some former players, and as a former high school coach myself, I think there's nothing greater than going out, or like when I'm in Virginia, but when I go home to North Carolina and run into some of my former players that's now grown men that have kids, you know, you stop and have all those great conversations. So, Coach, if you don't mind, talk a little bit about the impact that you've made away from the game. When I say away from the game, is just like having those conversations tonight. You're in the restaurant, here comes a former player. You know, what's the excitement that you see, or how do you feel when that former player approaches you?
Yeah, it's incredible. You know, like I think some of the best coaches out there aren't necessarily the ones that have the best, knowledge, X's and O's, Y's, or they have the best practice drills and stuff like that. It's the ones that can prove to the kids that they care about them as people as much as they do football players and athletes, right? And if you're able to show that, but be genuine about it, right, you're going to get the best out of that kid no matter what. And that's very gratifying, right? And so, yeah, I've had an opportunity to meet, I've coached a lot of different kids. Like, look, I've coached rich kids, I've coached poor kids, I've coached in the inner city, I've coached women, I've coached, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, every opportunity I get to have lunches with those kids or have that impact where I see them, it's incredible. And, one of my former players, I was lucky enough to be the best man in his wedding when he got married, and things like that. Like, you can't, those are life-changing things for him. And to be a part of that is just, that's, amazing. Like, I'm more proud of that stuff than any of the on-field success I've ever had.
You know what? Well said, well said. And again, congratulations and thank you from one coach to another, just from, just making an impact. I mean, because I would not be, of course, I grew up, I was very fortunate and blessed. I grew up in a two-parent home. My dad and my mom was always there for me, but my coaches always, I don't know what it was, they always took a little vested interest in Coach Goins and be able to kind of steer me down that path. But here's where I want to go. I want to talk about being a rock, right? And in today's world, and I think Ikon really tapped into that market and with his opening comments. A lot of kids, they're kind of, I don't want to say misled, but they can't find their way, or a little bump in the road. Sometimes, it's hard for them to navigate. So if you don't mind, tell our viewing audience what it is with your business and the platform and your creation of being that rock.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So a couple of years ago, we just finished one of my better seasons as a coach. We finished the regular season undefeated, first time in the school's history where I was. And, it was kind of like at the end of that, as great as it was, I felt like something was missing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was awesome, but like, I'm like, gosh, is this all that I am? kind of thing. And so my wife and I, ironically, we went to vacation in Nashville, Tennessee, for our anniversary, and I saw a John Gordon conference, and I don't know if you know who John Gordon is. He's a motivational speaker and author, and he's done some things, and just talking to him and the people there, and I said, like, you know what, this is something pretty cool, and I think this is something I can do. And so I just started this business and offered myself out to companies and schools and sports teams for free, just to kind of talk about my message. And so, well, for one, even before that, I wanted to cultivate my message and kind of like, okay, like, what am I about? What do I stand for? And I think about some of the things in my life, just like anybody, like some of the things that I've gone through. And I'm like, okay, like this makes sense. Like, what does it mean to be a rock, right? And why be a rock? And so the biggest thing is, like, what do you know about rocks, right? They might crack a little bit when things get tough, and they might, be a little rough around the edges, but they're not going to break. Okay. And so no matter what we're going through, and this is something I tell kids all the time. And when I have the chance to go talk to other schools or organizations or whatever, like, whatever you're going through, we inevitably get through it every time. right? Okay, we just do. And when that time where we won't get through it, like that's where our faith comes in, and it's gonna be, we're going to heaven and everything's gonna be okay. We're in glory, right? And so I'm a believer that we get through it every time, and you just got to be strong and you can't break, and recognize that. And one of the things I end with during any of my speaking opportunities is my phone. I have 2 reminders that goes off of my phone every morning. One is be your own hero. Right. And I say that because a lot of times we live in a society now where people are so caught up in celebrities and politicians and professional athletes, right? When really they have the power within themselves, okay, to be anything they want to be, right? So be your own hero. And the second part of that is life starts now. So every morning, those 2 things go off on my phone every day. And I say that to myself before I wake up and go to work. And, the be your own hero part, this is really cool. I don't know if you guys remember this, but like, again, I'm almost 50. So I'm a child of the late 80s, early 90s, right? So Charles Barkley, do you remember when he came out with his commercial and he said, I'm not a role model.
Yep.
Right. I'm not right. And his point was, he wasn't trying to be rude. He's like, no, he's like, we've got so many good people in this world, doctors, right. Out there that are doing good. I'm just an athlete. Right. And I remember that stuck with me as a 12-year-old, 1990 or whatever it was. I'm like, man, that's really cool. And so there's nothing wrong with having mentors and people that we look up to, for sure. Right. But you know what? Like, gosh darn it. Like, no, it's within us. Like, just go do it. Right. There's no excuse. Like, stop putting it off. Like, we can just go do it and be your own hero. So.
Wow. Excellent. Icon, man, I see you ready to pull the trigger on one, man.
So coach, kind of talk about, because I know you coach football, you coach baseball. Yeah. We haven't really had that kind of dynamic too many times here on this show. So just talk about the different mindset or the different approach to when you're coaching your players on the football field and when you're coaching those guys on the baseball field. Guys and girls on the baseball field.
For sure. And I'm going to add a twist to that too. I also, our school where I was in the state of Michigan, we were the first school to start girls flag football here in Michigan. So I had an opportunity to coach girls. Yeah. Right. So like my oldest daughter was pretty cool when the NFL draft was here in Detroit. She was up on stage when the Lions made their pick. And she had an opportunity. She hugged Terry and Arnold, who they drafted from Alabama, right? And Roger Goodell. So it's pretty cool stuff. So yeah, so I have the dynamic of the football versus baseball mindset, and as well as coaching girls a little bit different. So yeah, the hard part is football is such, as we know, it's such an intense game of controlled aggression. Right. And so we know that it takes a lot of passion, and you can make up for so many of your maybe deficiencies athletically just by playing hard and being physical and just popping people. Right. And that's a mindset, and that's pretty awesome. Right. And that's pretty cool from a coach's perspective too, when you go into that as well. And so baseball, like that to me is the football dynamic is, as I always would joke, like, I'm a nut job from Monday through Thursday. Right. But Friday night though, it's like we are chill, like we are locked in, like we are calm, we are composed, and we're in control, right? But you still know, like, it's a battle. Baseball is a lot different because it's such a game of failure, as we know, right? If you have that mindset, like, you're just going to get defeated, right? If like you could have, you're in the batter's box and you just have the best swing of your life and you just drill one and you're going to hit it right to the shortstop. Well, unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about it. Like, you did everything correctly, right? There's nothing you can do about it. And so if you live with that and take it with you into your next at bat, or when you go out into the field, you are, you're already losing the battle with yourself, right? And instead of worrying about, who's on the mound or who's up the bat and what my defensive position is, stuff like that. So it's, to me, mindset is everything in all sports, really, right? And how we coach it and how we attack it. And it's no different with those two.
It's funny. I actually got a great nephew that plays for the Detroit Lions. Name is Eileen McNeil.
Oh, get out of here!
Yeah. That's my wife's on my wife's side. That's her great nephew.
No, we love him here.
Oh yeah, he's a real good kid. Whatever. I thought he was going there playing baseball, because when he was middle school, and that middle school age, he was knocking them all out the park. Or whatever. What I'm saying. And but what's funny? And I always say this too about baseball. I said, how hard baseball has to be a very hard game. If you can think about it. In school, you have to have at least a 70% to say you pass. But if you hit a baseball, if you 300, if you hit 30%, basically, you're a success story. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So it's
Well,
kind of that. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say the game has evolved a little bit now. Now, if you hit 260, if you get 20, you know what I'm saying, you're a good hitter,
Yeah,
right? It's not 300
exactly.
anymore. It's
Right.
crazy, right?
Yeah. So that lets you know how hard it is to hit a baseball. Because I played when I was in my younger years, I played baseball, basketball, and football, and it wasn't nothing harder that frustrated me more of trying to hit that baseball. You
I
know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think everybody now with sports specialization and guys that like pitchers that throw year round, right? And the amount of good arms that there are out there, like especially Major League Baseball, like you're not kidding. Hard to hit a baseball, and I mean, those guys are the best in the world at it, and sometimes they still look silly.
Yeah, yeah. You jump back in, coach.
All right, so here's what. Well, first of all, congratulations again. Your bio is just outstanding, and so here's where I want to go with this, and it's all about work life balance.
Yeah.
And I know you're a busy man, and congratulations on the 22 years with your wife and your three kids. So if you were in front of the young up and coming coaches, what would you impart to them to be able to say, here's a trick to the trade, or here's a nugget. So make sure that you create that balance. Don't be too high, don't be too low. So share with us what would you say to that new coach coming out of school?
Yeah, I'm gonna work backwards if that's all right. So
Yes, sir.
what I did recently is I took this position as an athletic director to afford me more time to be with my kids. Right.
Yes.
So my oldest is now in her second year in college, and I have two in high school. And I found that what I was doing, it was putting a strain on my relationship with them. Still with balancing the coaching with the relationship with them. So that's why what I'm doing now affords me more of that opportunity. But when they were younger, I would say this to any young coaches with young families, and they're trying to balance that. Have your kids and your spouse be as involved with the game and what you're doing as much as you can. All right. So like my wife, she loved coming to team dinner. She loved going to all the games. My girls showed up to all the games. It was great. My girls had shirts they made up that said, "My dad doesn't care what play you think he should call." Right. Like things like that. Right. So it's, they were invested in, where I coach, in the Metro Detroit Catholic League here, the league championship is played at Ford Field every year. And so my girls, when, we went back to back there, and my girls were able to be on the sideline with me that game. Right. And so things like that, as long as you make them be a part of it, they attended the summer camps, like everybody, like all my players called them coach, the girls coach, hey coach, hey coach Eleanor, right. Things like that, right. Make them feel a part of it. That way, like, they enjoy it, and they're just as much a part of it, and they're hanging, by a thread during the game as well, and they want to win as much as you do also. So keep them involved and make sure everybody is, loving, try to get them to love what you're loving.
Exactly. That's great. I knew there's no way you could be successful in the realm of sports, especially at any level, without having that balance and having that support at home to be able to do. So here's where I want to go before I kick it back over to Iconi. So on your day off, and when you're away, tell what does Coach Barnes do to kind of just get away, to unplug, just to kind of let your hair down, to say, okay, you know what, I'm not gonna watch the game this day. I'm just gonna kind of what do you like to do when you have that spare moment?
So I'm glad you said that, because it's gonna sound kind of ironic. I don't love watching football. It's weird, and I don't know if love is the right word, right? But like, it's almost like I need that to decompress time. Do you know what I'm saying? To get away from it, right? So I'm a big chess player. That's kind of like my thing. I don't know if I'm good at it or not, but like I play a lot of chess, online chess with people I don't know, and that kind of helps me unwind a little bit. I'm a big Harry Potter fan. I like to read and like to watch movies. Just kind of like I've gotten into reading. I've gotten into some the old Stoics. I like reading about controlling your mind and meditating and things like that. So chess, reading, relaxing. The other thing, if you would have told me when I was younger, I'd do this, when I get older, I'd say you're crazy. I've gotten into fishing a lot. And I find that like that's a great time to be at peace. And, you know, I talk to God, you know, and say my prayer, you know, pray and stuff like that. And that's brought me peace as well. And so those are probably the big things. Like in the wintertime, though, like I said, though, up here now it's 15 degrees. I can't do that fishing thing. I haven't gotten into ice fishing, and it's pretty rough. But every opportunity I get, I try to fish.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that. Like I said at the beginning, I grew up in North Carolina and I coached in North Carolina. And during baseball season, I was the JV baseball coach, and my cousin he coached the girls JV softball team. And both of us are big fishermen. And we'd be out, you know, talking in between the fence before the games. And he's like, "Hey, as soon as the game's over, rake that mound down, and we're gonna go with us a lure." So I understand
Love it.
that was always my getaway, just to be able to sit in the boat or stand on the bank and just throw the lure until your arm wears out.
Well, and you're right. It used to be if I would go and fish and not catch anything, I'd say this is boring. But it's not about that anymore. Like I just I'm out there and I'm like, holy heck, you know, I'm not attached to my phone. I'm not answering emails, right? It's nothing like that. It's just me, and I'm like, wow, this is great.
All right, I appreciate that. All right, Ikon, what you got, bro?
You know, it's funny you say that because, like we know we've been doing this show for like 6 years, and you know, and the thing about it is, and I get when people say, well, when you do a movie or when you do your music or do whatever, do you go back and critique yourself? And a lot of times you hear people say, I don't listen to it after I put it out or move. And I'm the same way with this. And either I catch it while I'm watching, while we're doing it, or if somebody gives me like if my wife give me a critique or somebody like says, oh, we caught this or we seen that. And then I'll say, okay, thank you. And I'll adjust to it. Because most of the time, it's people that I know really have my best interest when they do tell me something. So that's when I may adjust whatever I need to adjust. But as far as like, it's like one of those things like, you know, when I finally probably decide not to do this anymore, then I may go back and watch all of them just to see where I'm at. But I'm still I'm still like in the moment. So I don't really look at it like that. And I was gonna say this too. So I watch the show 911 a lot. I don't know if y'all ever watched that show. And it's funny because every time I meet a paramedic or something, or EMT or whatever, and I say, yeah, have you ever go through the stuff that they go through in the show? They kind of give me this crazy look like, sir, we don't watch those shows. We live it. We live it. We don't watch it. So when they get offended, I just stop asking them. I'm like, because every time I ask, they give me this crazy look like, sir, we live it. We don't have to watch it. So anyway, getting back to so what is your football? What is your methodology as far as are you a offensive guy, defensive guy, or both?
No, I've coached both sides of the ball in my career. I'm definitely more of an offensive guy. Quarterbacks, I would say, is my specialty. Each of the years when I was coaching at my previous stop, we had a kid that was an all-Catholic League quarterback. I'm really proud of that. I like, you know, both sides of the ball, the chess match, right, that comes with it, especially offensively. It's a lot of fun. I think what I like about, I mean, let me say this for all the defensive coaches out there, like coaching defense is a heck of a lot harder than it is coaching offense. Like defensively, like every week, you know, you might see a different personnel grouping. You might see a different, you know, formations, right? And all that stuff. It's hard to be a defensive coach. So ton of credit to those guys. But yeah, I'm more of an offensive guy. I've evolved to a version of the spread, and I didn't make it up. You know, things I've taken from other coaches and that I've met and, you know, built relationships with over the years. At the college and high school level, there's great coaches all over. And so, you know, we like to play fast and have fun. It's one of the things I like to say offensively, like there's so many things we're fighting nowadays with, you know, with technology and the things that kids could be doing. So like practice and, you know, especially when we're on the field on offense, in my opinion, can't be slow. Like we want to play fast and have fun and get moving. And I've always been a big one-word play call guy, right? Just get it in and get it out. And I joke, I'm like, hey, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Like I can't have these really long play calls. Let's just get a word and let's get going and play fast. And kids have fun with it. We hand signal everything. My scheme, and the kids make up the signals and have fun with it as well. So, make it fun.
Yeah. So, so you say you're a quarterback guy. I'm glad you said that. So, what's your ideal? If you had the ideal quarterback size, height, speed, whatever it is, what would be your perfect, in the perfect world, what's the perfect quarterback for you?
Oh, that's too easy. It'd be somebody like Vince Young in his college days, right? Like, yeah, right. Because he wasn't judged on like he still threw the ball pretty well in college. Is a little bit different level than the NFL, right? But like he did everything. He was awesome to watch. Marcus Mariota, I said Vince Young, Lamar Jackson, those guys, Josh Allen right now for the Bills, right? I mean, those guys are the nice. Like anytime you can have a quarterback that's a threat to run the ball, I mean, it just does wonders for your offense, and it puts the defense at a strain because they have to account for that guy, right? So anybody that's a threat to run it all, I think is a huge difference. So that's why up here in Detroit right now, the biggest knock is like the offensive line is a little banged up for the Lions, and Jared Goff isn't very mobile, right? And that's causing so much trouble, right? And that's his biggest flaw, and he's getting a lot of flack for that. And so that's but when you have that advantage where a guy can escape and create plays off platform that aren't perfect to the play call the way it's drawn up, like when you don't have that, it's a problem.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions. Okay, the season, what was the season that your team exceeded expectations going in? Because I know all coaches, you go into a season and you like, you know what, we may struggle this year. You already know in your mind, you already kind of got a preconceived notion of what may happen. You're like, oh, my team, we're not as athletic, we're not this, we're not that, whatever. So we maybe have to hope for 5-5 or 6-4. What season where y'all exceeded expectations?
Well, so as I've gotten older, one of the things I said is because you're right, all coaches will do that. All right, we'll look at our schedule before the season and say, okay, that one's a win, that right? That one might be 50-50. We all do it, right? Yeah. And so I try to change that over the last really 5 years and say like, okay, instead of looking at it that way, just like our goal is to be a better team at the end of the season than we are at the beginning, right? And that because that's what you can control. In all honesty, right? You can't control all the other stuff, and so. I'd say the big one is I'm gonna twist the question a little bit, and then I'll answer it. Is we had a year, like I said, we won our Catholic League championship for the first time in the school history in 2022, and the next year we were bringing pretty much everybody back. And week 2, our senior running back was a 2-time All-State ball carrier, tore his ACL on a non-contact injury. Right, week 2, right, and so we go into that weekend and then into the team meeting the next Monday. And, I'm thinking like, holy heck, like how do I do this? Right. I got to go tell the guys that like, Jackson's out for the year. And he's our brother. We love him. Like we're going to be there for him. But like our standard can't change. Right. And I'm not talking about like, we need to do this differently. It's just, we're going to show up and continue to get better than we were the day before. Right. We're going to make sure that we're coming with the right mindset and we're going to attack every week. Nothing's going to change. Like nothing's going to change. And so that was the year we finished with the undefeated regular season. And I think if he was healthy, we would have made a legit state playoff run. And so I don't know if it was necessarily that we thought we were going to fall off the cliff when he got hurt. But to say that we would have gone undefeated, I'd say no way, because there were some things we had to move, right? Like we had to move our, one of our better athletes had to move him to running back, but he hadn't played running back in 3 years. That was a challenge. So I would say that one would be the one that was like, okay, probably exceeded expectations.
Okay, so now I got to flip it to the other side. That season where they keep all coaches up, tossing and turning. You know what I mean? Like that one season that you thought, oh, this is our undefeated season. This is our season to do whatever, to be, to win the state. And whatever reason, y'all dropped the ball or fumbled the bag, like the kids say, and it just got away. Whatever reason, the season got away from you for whatever reason. What season was that made you maybe even have to adjust your coaching style or whatever?
Yeah, I think so. My second year at our school, at the one school, Bishop Foley, we finished 8-2, and then so I kind of felt like the previous year we won our last 3 games of the year, so we're feeling really good going to that next year. And then we finished 8-2, so now I'm like, okay, we've made it as a program, right? I've put my stamp on this, like we're good to go. And the next year, we finished 6-4. But it was the only year during my time there that we lost to our rival and we got shut out 31-0. Right. And it was the game where it was the Detroit Lions high school game of the week. And so the Lions players were there, talking to us before the game and everything and talking to our kids and everything. And I was like, man. And so that was probably one. It was a lesson learned too, though, that you never know with high school kids. Right. And I know that's might sound like a cop out, but I take as much blame, and our coaches are like, no, we needed to do a better job getting these guys prepared and whatnot, but they're still high school kids. And sometimes they're going through stuff, whether it be, girlfriend relationships or whatever, or who knows what at home. Right. And so it's not always going to be perfect. And so that year though, after coming off that 8-2 year where I'm like, all right, we made it, like now let's go make our stamp. Didn't happen. I'd say that was probably the year.
Hey, before I kick it, you going. I know I could never own a team because Jacob be laughing at me because I'm like, I'm a Washington Commanders fan. We went 12-5, and this year we look like trash, and I want to fire, everybody. You know what I'm saying? I want to fire everybody. I want to go get Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame right now. I want to fire everybody.
But if Jaden Daniels is healthy, man, he's a difference maker. I watched him in that playoff game against the Lions. You got us, man. Whew. He was a dude. He's a difference maker. He was, in my opinion. I think if those quarterbacks are flipped, the Lions win that game. I do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But yeah, I would just say that because I know, like with me, it's kind of like I want to blame everybody but the quarterback. Everybody else can go, but Jaden. Like I'm just so
Right.
I'm just so upset this year. Like I understand we got all the injuries and everything and things happen in football and sports or whatever, but it just drives me crazy. I said we cannot put 2 straight years together. But go ahead, Coach. I go on.
All right, so here's what I want. There's a number that's ringing loud off of your bio, and it's the number 5. A lot of times coaches coach years and never have a chance to be a coach of the year, and your resume says there's 5 coaches of the year. So congratulations on each one of those. But here's my question: is where's the special out of the 5? Is it the first one, the middle one, the last? Which one was just like stands out in your mind when somebody says, "Man, Coach Barnes is a 5-time Coach of the Year recipient"?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I think I mentioned it earlier. Like when I first got into coaching, part of it, like I was making it more about myself than I was the kids, right? And I remember telling myself, "Gosh, I can't wait to get my first newspaper interview." Right. Or I can't wait to get my, I couldn't wait for all that. Right. And now as you get older, it just doesn't matter. Right. I mean, it doesn't. So I would say probably like all of them, the first one, just like anything, like anybody would say your first championship, right. You're flattered and in some ways embarrassed. I also had a chance to coach in our high school all-star game up here as a head coach of the eastern part of Michigan. And flattering, and humbled. Right. Because how many guys are so good at what they do. And so it feels good knowing that you're, the rest of the coaches feel that highly of you that they'd vote you to be the coach of the year. It means a lot. So that first one, you kind of feel like, okay, you've made it a little bit for sure.
Excellent. So that's remarkable. Again, five winning Coach of the Year 5 times. That's that's a true accomplishment, and it just shows you your body of work. Now, I will say this, since we talked a little bit about the NFL and Ikon, he was talking about this struggling that's going on up at the nation's capital, just a little bit east of that, the Steelers. I'm a lifelong Steeler fan, and and I feel the pain as well. And it's just like, I think we're trying to be the NIL of the NFL. We want to spend money on these old quarterbacks, bringing them in and trying to figure out. But the league, and here's where I want to just kind of end my comment on this. It's almost like the league is this year. The teams are like picking and choosing when they want to play. And I don't know, you look at one team and I just comes to mind is the Bills when they played the Dolphins, and then we didn't show up against the Bills, and then we played I don't know, it just seems like every year, and well, this year it just rings loud to me that it's just kind of an influx of, okay, we're going to play this week, next week we may not play. So again,
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. I don't know if your opinion on how you feel about how your Lions are rolling in that category.
So it's weird here with the Lions. By the way, a quick Steeler comment for me. So Derek Harmon, their draft pick out of Oregon, right? So I
Okay.
actually had an opportunity when he was in high school. I coached against him for 2 years. We ran
Wow.
into him a couple times, right? Because he's from Detroit, and he's he's a great kid too. So the crazy thing is I don't know if you know this. I helped out our bowling team a couple years, and he's a great bowler. It's crazy, which is you wouldn't think it. You see a 300-pound dude and just chiseled, right? He's a good bowler and just super nice kid though. Anyway, no. The thing with the Lions is like they were so close a couple of years ago, and people love Dan Campbell here, and they love they love Jahmyr Gibbs. I think he's the best player in the league. So I just do it. Maybe I'm biased, but he's the real deal. But they had their chance. You're up 17 in San Francisco in the second half 2 years ago, and they blow that, and it's like you might have lost your one chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had everything lined up. Aiden Hutchinson since then got hurt. They're banged up. Brian Branch, all-pro safeties. I mean, so it's like their schedule is a lot tougher this year than it has been, though, right? And again, though, when you have Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and David Montgomery, like they still have some dudes, right? Penei Sewell. So we kind of feel like, all right, if the Lions can get into the playoffs and get even remotely a little bit healthy, they can still go on a run. But I'm kind of I don't want to be glass half empty guy, but I just kind of feel like, man, you've had your chance and the window's right. I already feel like you kind of blew it.
That's
Hope I'm
well.
wrong.
Yep. Well said. Well said. All right, Icon, I'll kick it back to you, bro.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions for you, but I do want to ask you this. You say you coach rich kids, the poor kids, and all that kind of stuff. So just kind of talk about the difference in when you're coaching in the suburbs, when you maybe have more resources and more money, maybe even more access to more people as far as players. So the school may be bigger or whatever. And then versus in the poor neighborhoods where it may challenge to have the money you need or the resource or whatever. So kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the great thing about all that is like, yeah, there are some differences, obviously. But the great thing about all that is like when you get to the field and you get to practice, it's still just football, right? And it's still just working with kids and mentoring kids, right? Like I said, like the great thing about football is and sports in general, but it's like all that stuff doesn't matter, right? Race doesn't matter, money doesn't matter. Right. We're all built of the same stuff and we're all, working for the same goal. Right. And so when we got out in the field, none of that mattered. Now, after practice, like, yes. Did I have to take kids home from practice sometimes? Yes. Did I have to make sure kids had something to eat? For sure. Things like that. Go to the other side, right? You have your parents that are heavily involved, right? Okay, so maybe the parents are too involved, or they're paying a tuition to go to a private school, right? So they think their opinion really matters, right? So there's challenges to both, and like I said, though, ultimately it's about what we're doing for the kids, right? I still go back to that, even with my most frustrating times with parents on both ends, either being not existent or being too present. My focus has always been, I'm like, okay, I keep telling them, I said, your kid's going to be a better person, student, and football player by playing in our program. Like that's ultimately our goal.
Wow.
Okay. So let me ask you, I'm trying to figure out how to ask this question. So I'm going to ask it this way. Let's just say you got a real super talented kid and he's a rich kid, but for reason he's not motivated because he is a rich kid. He feels he's entitled. Then you have a poor kid, and he's super talented, but he has maybe the streets is calling him, maybe just educational wise, he's not doing what he's supposed to do in the classroom. Kind of talk about what things, and especially being a paraprofessional. We've seen a lot. We've seen a lot being a professional. So kind of talk about psychologically how you have to kind of get those type of kids back on track.
Yeah, both are unique circumstances, right? Because we've dealt with both. Like I've seen kids with a lot of money who have so much pressure on them, right? Because parents expect them to be, the perfect straight A student, right? And not make any type of mistakes, and so their anxiety level is through the roof. You feel bad for them in that regard. And then, like you said, the other kid who might have that rough background or might not have that direction at home, and might have some poor mentors in his life. And so there's a challenges to both. I think, like anything, like that's where it goes back to, building the relationship with the kids, and letting them know you care about them as people just as much as you do football players. So like you can have those conversations with them. So I've had conversations with kids where, okay, what is your ultimate goal here? Like, what do you want the outcome to be? Like, do you want to play at the next level? What do you want to do? Right. And start from there. And so a lot of times I've found with the poorer kids, like they've got some dog mentality in them. Right. Like they want to get after it and not mess around. And like, they know that being at football is way better than being at home. Right. But a lot of times, I've run into rich kids too, whose parents are so overbearing, right, that they'd rather be at football as well too. And they can't wait to get out of there too. So, I mean, ultimately it's, like I said, ultimately it's about, what's best for the kid and what the kid wants. And you got to have those conversations with kids. And I'm not afraid to do that. And, all my coaches know that as well. Like you build that relationship and find out like, all right, what do we want to get out of this? What do you want to get out of this? And I've had conversations with kids too. I've said like, hey, if you don't want to play at the next level, like that's okay. Right. Like that's okay. If this isn't, you don't want to do that, that's fine. Whether mom or dad feels that way or not, I think it's okay.
Okay. Well, before I let you go, I'm gonna give you one last hot seat question.
Uh-oh.
You know what I'm saying? You're a quarterback guy.
I'm
So
a quarterback.
your top five quarterbacks all time, and why are they your top five?
Oh gosh. Oh, okay. So like, I'm not saying this because I'm from Michigan, but I'm gonna I'll say Tom Brady. I think you can't deny 7 Super Bowls. I just don't think you can't deny that. Quite impressed. Now, unfortunately, I think it's kind of subjective though, because here's why I say that. All right, like I thought Warren Moon threw the best ball ever. Like some of his throw, like he was my favorite kick. Him and Jim Kelly, like their ball, like just the way, loved it. All right, Tom Brady. All right, Tom Brady for sure. I think based on pure talent, I'm going to say Dan Marino.
That's good.
I think going back to, because I think this guy has a couple more Super Bowls in him, I'm going to say Patrick Mahomes. So what am I up to? Is that 3?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Jeez, I know I'm missing great quarterbacks. This is embarrassing. Joe Montana, obviously.
Okay.
And do I take the easy way out and go Steve Young? I'm gonna go Steve Young.
Hey, it's your top 5, so I ain't mad at you. The top 5 you picked, your 5 you picked. I'm kind of I would put Brady, Mahomes in there. Trying to think who else I would put in there. I would probably Brett Favre was always my guy. You know what I'm saying? I was a big Brett Favre guy. I know.
Here's my problem with Brett Favre. Here's my problem with Brett Favre though. I'm a Detroit guy. Like I can't. Like he's a Packer.
Oh
like,
yeah. I can't. yeah. So and Joe Theismann, because I've been a Washington Redskin fan my whole life. So Joe Theismann is in there for me. You know what I mean? So that would definitely be. So I would say probably the ones you picked with Joe Montana and all those, and then Patrick Mahomes and then a couple other ones. I'll probably switch maybe 1 or 2 of them. But for the most part, I don't disagree with you at all. But Coach, I appreciate you coming on here tonight, giving us your time. I know it's a busy time of year for you. Probably start probably about getting on, wrapping up the season. You'll put y'all probably in the playoffs right now, right?
Yeah, we're all finished up, man. We're now ready. We're into the winter season, and I'm ready to spend some time with my family during the holidays.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, because you got to rev up for that spring baseball soon. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on, give your time, and like we tell all the other coaches, if you got any players, anybody from your program that you want to send over for us to get a crack of and put them in this hot seat, then But I hope we weren't too rough on you. And like I said, I appreciate you coming on.
Well, guys, again, thanks for having me. It's a great thing about this game is the relationships and new friendships that we make. And so I appreciate you guys as well. And if there's anything I can do for you in return, let me know. All right.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a blessed and wonderful night.
Appreciate
All right.
it, guys. Thanks.
Be a rock. All right.
Be a rock.
Big guy.
Thank you.